I'm Rebecca from Ingvid. In this lesson, you'll learn how to write effective subject lines so people actually open the emails you send them, because that is what you want, right? Why do we send email? Usually we send email because we want someone to know something or we want someone to do something. And they can only do that and get the information you send if they open it. So this lesson will show you how to write the subject lines that help your emails get opened. Now, of course, when you write to your family or friends, they're going to open your email because they love you, they like you, and they want to hear from you. But what happens in more business-like situations or more formal situations? There, you have a lot of competition. If your email inbox is like most people's today, you're probably getting, 60 to 100 emails a day. Now, if you're a manager, they're getting about 200 to 300 emails a day. And high-level executives are getting 500 to 700 emails a day. So if you're trying to get through, if you're trying to get a job, if you're trying to make an application or a proposal, and you want your email to be open, you need to get attention. You need to grab their attention when there's so much competition in that inbox, right? So in this lesson, I'm going to show you an easy way to set up your subject line so that it can get the attention that you want. All right? Now, before we go any further, let me just make sure that you know what I mean by a subject line. So when we write an email, there are three parts to it, right? There's the to. So what are you going to put there? You're going to put the name of the person or the email address of the person that you're sending the email to. That's the recipient. Then there's the subject line, the little short summary of what you're going to write about. That's called the subject lines. It tells the person what you're writing about or why you're writing, okay? And last is your actual message. All right, so there are three parts. So in this lesson, we're focusing just on this because this is the only thing that is seen on mobile devices or also in your inbox, right? And based on that, you decide whether you should open it or not. All right. Now, if you weren't sure what to write, or if you're thinking very casually, or you just really didn't understand that it was so important to write an effective subject line, you might have written or seen subject lines like this, which are actually pretty useless in the business situations or business context, okay? For example, hi, or hello, good morning, how are you? That doesn't tell us anything, right? Doesn't say anything about why you're writing. Or re with nothing written after it. Re is actually short for regarding. You're supposed to put something there. If you don't put anything there, then it doesn't say anything. Ref is short for referring to or reference something. Again, if you have nothing there, it doesn't mean anything. Some people write, Dear Fred. Well, if you're writing to Fred Jones, then Fred knows that you're writing to him. You don't need to repeat that in the subject line. It doesn't tell him anything. Or you say from Mary, but if you're writing and your name is Mary, your name is already there. You don't need to repeat that either. Or some people just don't know what to write, so they don't write anything. So automatically it just says no subject. And that's not going to help you at all. What will happen if you write email like this in a business context? It's very likely that your email will either be deleted or ignored, most often, or just lost in that sea of emails that keep coming in to our inboxes and flooding our inboxes every day. And most important, it will stay unopened and unread. And whatever you wanted to communicate didn't happen. So now I'm going to show you what to do to make sure or to increase your chances of your email messages being opened. So here's a simple system you can follow to write more effective subject lines. I like to call it the SIS principle. Okay? Why SIS? Because it should be short, informative, and specific. SIS. Now, that doesn't mean you write 3 subject lines, but you think through it this way in order to come up with the last one. Let's go through some examples so you understand, okay? So, first, short. what's the key message? What's the key word here? What's it all about? It's a meeting, let's say, okay? Then make it informative. Give them some more information about the meeting. Which meeting? Where? What? June 7th meeting, okay? Now you've made it informative, all right? Next, make it specific. What about that meeting? Why are you writing about the June 7th meeting? Tell them. Canceled, then put a colon, June 7th meeting. Now, even if somebody's really in a hurry, you will have conveyed a very important message to them in your very effective subject line, okay? Because you said so much. You see how this is so much better than where we started? But even this is so much better than just saying hi or good morning or dear John, all right? So let's look at some more examples like that, okay? And try to think this way so that we come up with the best one here. Short, informative, specific. So let's say you ordered something from Amazon, but when it got to you, you ordered a glass bowl, and when it got to you, it was broken, all right? So you have to write to ask for a refund. So, short, what's it about? Your order. Informative, Amazon order number 625. Okay, you're giving a little more detail there. And now, specific, what about it? What about that order? Refund, Amazon order 625. Now, when Amazon receives that, they're going to know which department to send it to for the refund. Okay, and it's also more effective because they can find your email more easily because you've said why you've written, you've given the order number, and it's much easier for them to reference it and to find it and to search for it if necessary. All right, let's look at this situation. This is let's say in a university, you want to meet your professor, okay? Because you want to discuss something to do with your thesis. So you could start off with the basic short message, appointment, then informative, requesting appointment, which means asking for an appointment, and then specific, requesting appointment to discuss thesis. Okay, now you might have noticed that here I wrote the word appointment, okay? But here I said APPT. Now, why is it important to use these abbreviations? Because when I say short, I mean really short. Today, a lot of people are reading their emails on mobile devices. So what happens? You have very little space, very few words that you can use to convey this information, right? It's basically on mobile devices about 3 to 5 words, that's it, that shows up, or 25 to 30 characters. Characters mean specific letters plus the spaces, okay? Those are characters. And if it's in a regular inbox or on your computer, you might see 5 or 7 words or about 50 characters. So you really want to keep it short, all right? So whenever you can, use a conventional abbreviation. It will help, all right? Let's look at some more examples. All right, so let's pretend you're applying for a job. Now in that situation, first, before you apply this principle, you should read very clearly and carefully whatever has been written in the job advertisement. And because very often they tell you what to write in the subject line so they can find the people who have applied very easily. All right? So in that case, please make sure to read the entire advertisement and write exactly what they tell you to write in the subject line. Okay? But if they don't tell you, then you can follow the SIS principle to help you to write an effective subject line. So again, SIS stands for what? Short, informative, and specific. So let's say you're writing to apply for a job. So start with the word job in terms of your thinking, then teaching job, and then French teaching job number 52. Okay? All right? So again, you've been very specific. When the person looks at it, they know exactly, all right, this is for the French teaching position, and which one? Number 52. Okay, that's the way to do it. All right, now let's suppose again another business scenario regarding a conference. Okay, but that's the basic subject, conference, short. Get a little more informative. Which conference? The marketing conference. And then why are you writing about the marketing conference? What do you want to tell somebody or what do you want to ask somebody? So then get specific. You could say, for example, confirming attendance, marketing conference. Now you see that I abbreviated the word marketing and I abbreviated the word conference because again, you want to keep it as short as possible. Or let's suppose you wanted to ask somebody if they are going to attend it. So you could say something like attending marketing conference, ? That's okay too. All right. That's usually for a colleague or somebody that we know pretty well. Then you can be a little bit more informal and just ask the question like that. Okay. Now, here's another scenario where you're sending in your resume for a position that maybe wasn't advertised, but you want them to have your resume or your CV. So you could start with the idea, resume, then get a little more information into it. Receptionist resume, that's the position, receptionist that you're looking for. And then receptionist resume, and John Grant. Now, you're asking me, but you told me not to put my name because they know my name. Yes, in general, it's true. Don't write your name. But when you're sending in your resume, I strongly recommend that you do put your name so it can be found, so it stands out, so people see your name, so people remember your name very clearly next to this subject. Okay? So in that particular case, do put that. Next, I'm giving you lots of vocabulary that you can use for these kind of subject lines. So here are some verbs and some nouns that you can use and that will save you time when you're trying to write that very effective subject line. Okay, here we go. Cancelled, postponed. What does postponed mean? Delayed. Okay, so suppose there was a meeting and now the time has changed from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock or from Monday to Thursday. Then you could write postponed. And again, with any of these verbs, you could put a colon right after it and then the information, the specific information. Confirmed, booked, which means the same as reserved, okay? Shipped, which means the same as sent. Delivered means your package arrived. Requested means you're asking for something. Rescheduled means the timing of something changed, all right? And approved means somebody gave their okay, all right? Here are some nouns that you might find useful when you're writing professional or business email. Arrival, interview, introduction. Very often today in business, we're introducing one person that we know to someone else that we know who we think would be helpful for them to get to know each other for business reasons or for some other reason. So we introduce them. So you can write introduction, you can put a colon, and you can put the name of the people or the person. Referral. Again, sometimes you're referring somebody or recommending somebody for a position or for a job. Follow up. It's a very good idea after your interview, for example, to write a short email to say thank you. And you could say follow up, interview, January 20th or something like that. Okay, just a little thank you, a little follow up so they remember you. Okay, and that can score you some good points. All right, inquiry in case you're asking information about something, or proposal. Okay, in case you're making a proposal to a company regarding something. All right, so those are some vocabulary words that will help you. And besides that, let's just go over a few more points so that you can really zero in and write the best subject lines possible. So sometimes you'll see that people write important or urgent, right? Now, of course, when it is important or urgent, then use it, but don't abuse it. Don't use it all the time because after some time, nobody will pay attention if you write important or urgent, okay? So only use these words when something is really important or urgent. All right. Next, do not write in all caps or all capital letters. So I wrote no all caps because when you write in all capital letters, then it's like you're shouting at that person. It's too much, okay? So just don't do that. Even if it's important or urgent. Very rarely they will write important in all caps, okay? But at the most then. Next, what happens if you are replying to someone, okay? Because you say, yeah, Rebecca, sometimes I'm writing the letter, but sometimes, lots of times I'm replying, right? Sure. So what happens then? Then you just hit reply, and whatever subject line that person wrote to you is now going to continue with a re before it. So let's say that person wrote proposal, okay? He didn't watch this lesson, so he doesn't know how to write a really good subject line. You do. But suppose initially he said proposal. When you reply, it will say re ... which is colon, proposal. And it'll keep going like that every time. And it'll say re. Now, after a while, what are you going to do? Sometimes there are 17 messages from that one subject line. Is that effective anymore? Not really. So what should you do? Well, you can do one of two things. If the subject you're talking about is still the same, then you can keep that subject line. Okay, so everybody can find the email related to that subject. But once the subject starts to change away from proposal and you start talking about the marketing conference or some other subject, then change it. Change the subject line so that later you and that other person can find the email related to the real subject you're now discussing and not to the original subject that you started off discussing. Okay? So that's kind of the rule you can follow. All right. Now, when should you write your subject line? Should you write it before you write the email or should you write it after? There are advantages to both. Usually I recommend that it's helpful for you to write it before because it helps you to focus on the content of your email. But after you finish the email, just make sure to go back and check that the subject line is still about what you wrote, because sometimes when we start writing, we write more than we had planned to write. So if there's more, then maybe you want to go back and modify or slightly change your subject line to match the content of your email. All right. And last, remember again to keep it short, informative, and specific. All right. So that you can get that job, get that customer, and get that next opportunity and make the most of it. Okay. Now, if you really want to master this process of writing effective subject lines, go to our website at www.ingvid.com. There you'll find a quiz on this subject. Of course, you'll also find about 1,000 other lessons on all kinds of subjects that have to do with English. So you can look around there as well. And subscribe to my YouTube channel for lots of other useful messages and lessons in English that will help you to learn English faster and more effectively. Okay, thanks very much for watching. I know you care, and I know you're going to make a big difference in your English. Bye for now.